Okay, let's start off with the important stuff first. Yes, it's true that the labor numbers did come in kind of like I was anticipating. Not that great. In fact, really pretty bad. And the stock market is down 500 points as of this moment. Tesla, as I noted in X this morning, if you follow me on X, and if you don't, why not? Anyway, on X this morning, I noted that I believe that Tesla would hold up better than most, as we probably are looking at a full-on correction in the stock market. Currently, we have the NASDAQ down about 10%, and we have the S&P down about 2.5%, but it's been down as much as 5% earlier last week. And then the Dow is closer to that 5% right now, but I think we'll go down a full 10 along with the S&P. That's my expectation. It may not happen. And one thing that could turn it around is that the Fed could decide next week to drop interest rates 5 or 10%. I'm sorry, I'm all right. 25 basis points or 50 basis points. They could decide to do that next week, which would obviously create quite the rally. But may or may not actually keep the markets from needing that correction, because ultimately the correction is about anticipated and expected earnings in the next couple of quarters, which could be impacted as we are, in my opinion, going to be in recession for these next 2 quarters. Or have lower GDP than last year. All right, so how does that, what about Tesla? Well, if we have that kind of correction, if we go down to full maybe 30 points on the NASDAQ, Tesla is going to be part of that correction. Will it go under 200? It could, or it might hold up better than the NASDAQ and maybe stay above the 200 level. In particular, as we get closer and closer to 1010, I think the FOMO will be more important than the overall market, as Tesla is set to become the largest company ever in history. That's in my humble opinion. Of course, not investment advice. All right. So it's only 70 days. Somebody else said 69. I'm saying 70. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, but today, one of the things that's happening is that the lawyers for Tesla, according to Sawyer Merritt, are gathering in the Delaware courtroom this morning. Actually, could already be happening as it's 10:14 in the East. To once more ask Chancellor Kathleen McCormick to approve Elon's 2018 CEO performance-based package, and they have a bunch of help, including Vanguard Group, giving the what would you call their own lawyers have come in with additional opinions in addition to Tesla's opinions. And it says, now that, the quote, this is from Vanguard Group, now that Musk has the votes to ratify the grant, it will be much harder for the chancellor to say these shareholders were wrong, predicts Lawrence Hamres, a longtime Widener University Law School professor and member of the Corporate Law Council that drafts updates of Delaware's nationally influential business statutes. So we'll see what happens on that this morning. Obviously, we're not going to hear anything from Ms. McCormick, Judge McCormick, for some weeks or months, but we'll at least have some responses from people with regard to how it seemed in the courtroom this morning. This is from Elon Musk this morning. He says that incentives for EVs exist in many states, but don't seem to be used that much. Maybe it's a lack of awareness or excessive paperwork and requirements. And so then Matthew Donegan Ryan says that as of today, qualifying Washington state residents can lease a Tesla for $0 down and $127 a month for a Model 3. $127 a month for a Model 3 and $0 down and $207 a month for a Model Y. And why aren't there unlimited numbers of people standing in line for those deals? It would seem like Washington State would be the #1 selling place for Teslas in the entire country, much maybe even in the world. All right. Now, this is very important news. Very important news this morning. This is from Stillgray, Stillgray, Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro claims he is unable to release the full results of the election because Elon Musk masterminded computer hacking to undermine the election. No, this isn't a joke. This is the attacks. I'm sure, he says, were directed by the power of Elon Musk. Venezuela, as I said yesterday and today, is facing domestic and international aggression from world powers. And now it's evident that Elon Musk is obsessed with the idea of taking over Venezuela and ruling it from abroad. He is largely responsible for these attacks and acts of aggression. So, Elon, cut it out, man. Maduro is really grasping at straws. The United States government said yesterday that they believe that there's overwhelming evidence that he lost the election and should step aside. I don't know if we're going to be sending in the troops, but one way or the other, I suspect that Maduro is probably going to be deposed unless he can convince his military to kill those people in Venezuela who haven't already left. This is Randy Kirk. It's time to hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and it's heartbreaking that you haven't already. And then hit notify, because we've got Cern Basher probably later today. It's already been, we've already shot the video. Probably that's what we're going to run later today. There's a lot of breaking news happening with regard to this whole thing with the stock market whatnot. So I'm not 100% sure there won't need to be a special in the middle of the day, but also Larry's coming on fairly early today, probably about 2:30 California time. We'll be publishing that. So you're going to want to hear what Larry has to say about today's news. And there's plenty of news probably going to happen between now and then. And then Larry will be back tomorrow morning sometime. We're not sure when, because Cathie Wood should be doing her report. And I can't wait to hear what Cathie has to say. And then Larry and I will talk about what Cathie had to say. We've also got, the All In podcast later today. And Larry and I both listen to that like religiously as we listen to Cathie. And so maybe we'll have comments about the All In podcast as well. Now, the All In boys would have probably produced this yesterday before the employment news. So that's sad, because I would have loved to hear their commentary on the employment report. Well, okay, let's go into the details of the unemployment, because here's what's happened. The unemployment rate rose by 0.2 percentage points to 4.3 in July. You heard me say the other day that I believed if it went from 4.1 to 4.3, that the Fed would do a interest rate cut before September. I don't think they should wait. I don't think they can wait. Some people think it'll be a 0.5, and that's possible. That's probably what they should do, because the numbers are not as good as that sounds. The number of unemployed, I'm sorry to be smiling about those unemployed people, but I'm smiling that, I got this so right and the Fed got this so wrong. The number of unemployed people increased by 352,000 to 7.2 million. These measures are higher than a year earlier, when the jobless rate was 3.5%. So that was 3.5%. It was lower than that earlier. So this is a big increase to 4.3%. And the number of unemployed people is only 5.9 million. That is 1.3 million more people unemployed right now. And yet somebody this morning on X said they thought that Biden would go down as one of the best presidents in history. And I'm trying to figure out, what in the world are they talking about? We got this horrible inflation, and then we've got 1.3 million people more unemployed in the last 12 months. And that's a great president? Anyway, among the unemployed number, the number of people on temporary layoff increased by 249,000 to 1.1 million. The number of permanent job losers changed little at 1.7 million. The number of long-term unemployed, those jobless for 27 weeks or longer, changed little. Still at 1.5 million, though. That's a lot. And that's up from 1.2 million a year earlier. 300,000 people that are on long-term unemployment. This accounted for 21.6% of all unemployed people in July. The number of people employed part-time, listen to this now. Okay, we remember we had this increase just a minute ago, 114. Oh no, we don't know that yet. I don't think I reported that. 114,000 more people employed this month, 114,000 up. The number of people employed part-time for economic reasons rose by 346,000. Sounds to me like all of the people and then some that are now being counted as employed on that list are part-time, and that would mean full-time jobs dropped a bunch. That's why you're seeing the 4.3. In July, average hourly earnings for all employees on private non-farm payrolls increased by 8 cents or 0.2%. The Fed would be happy with that on a month-over-month basis. Over the past 12 months, though, average hourly earnings have increased by 3.6, not good. In July, average hourly earnings of private sector, production, and non-supervisor employees also increased by 0.3%. The average work week for all employees on private non-farm payrolls edged down 0.1 hours to 34.2 hours. In manufacturing, the number actually dropped by 0.2 hours, and overtime edged down by 0.1 hours also. The average work week for production and non-supervisor employees also down 0.1 hour. The change in total non-farm payroll employment for May was revised down by 2,000. That was for May, which was already revised down a lot. And the change for June was revised down by 27,000. With those two revisions, May and June, 29,000 lower. Oh, wait a minute. What happened to that 114,000 gain? Well, no, it's an $85,000 net gain. And all of those were, and more were part-time. This is a horrible jobs report. So maybe people are paying attention. I don't know. But of course, we do know that the market is not happy this morning with this. The market doesn't want a recession. You never want a recession, but you never want open heart surgery either. But when I had my open heart surgery 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, it saved my life, okay? And that's what recessions do. So be optimistic. We're going to have this slowdown, horrible slowdown. Maybe we won't actually go into full recession. Maybe we won't get 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP, or maybe we will, and they'll just say that it wasn't a recession because they'll change the definition. But the reality is we are in a very, very rough market right now, and you need these from time to time to clean house. So I'm not at all concerned. I don't believe it'll be long-term. I believe that we will bounce back. I believe the Fed will lower rates. I believe housing will pop as a result of that because there's a lot of pent-up demand for single-family dwellings, a lot of pent-up demands for my mom to move. I'm kidding. She's 98 and a half. She's not going to probably move from my brother's house. But there's a lot of people out there that are sitting in way too much house. They'd like to move into a smaller home, and they can't because they don't want to give up 0 interest rate because they're not paying it, because they're paid off the loan and end up with the 7%. They're just not going to do that. So we'll see movement in the housing market as these interest rates come down. All right. Maybe that wasn't the best example. Can I give you a better example? Middle-class family, they have 2 kids, maybe they only have 1 kid, whatever it is, they want a bigger house. But right now they're sitting on a 2 or 3% loan from 3 years ago, and they don't want to go into a 7% loan in order to add that extra bedroom. Is that a better example? It doesn't matter. Lots and lots of examples. Let's take a look at what the market's doing now. All right, so Tesla, which had been down about $2.50 as the market was down big time, and then the market went down a lot more, was down about 400 down. The Dow is down 700 points, 700 points, getting very close to that 5%. And the NASDAQ is down 523. It was only down 400 a few minutes ago. So it's going down also. Now, both of them are ticking up a little bit. But what I've been saying is that Tesla is not going to be as impacted as hard. That's my expectation. So we'll look at the percentages here in a minute. Apple actually up right now. So Dow down 697. NASDAQ down 528, S&P down 124, and Tesla down $3.93. Magnificent Seven all down, NVIDIA down $5.64. Microsoft down 10, Meta down 18, Amazon down 21. I mean, holy mackerel. Google down 5. Okay, and then you've got all the Cathie Woods down except for Square, which posted some good numbers yesterday, but it's only up 14 cents. What are those percentages looking like this morning? We have got the S&P down 1.74. I'm sorry, Dow down 1.74%. That's going to get it very, very close to the 5% level. Maybe I don't think it's there yet. I think it has to be a little further down. Maybe another 300 points, I think, to get to 5%. NASDAQ down 3. I think that's going to put it down below the 10% at this point. Not 100% positive, but very, very close to the 10%. Could be down more. S&P down 2.3% this morning. I think that's getting very close to 5%. And then Tesla only down 1.8. You know how Tesla normally overshoots on the downside also. And I'm saying Tesla is not going to overshoot because there's enough excitement about 1010 and about the future of Tesla. So it is going to go down less in this market, less than, but it will still go down. If the Dow goes down another 10%, another 5%, and NASDAQ goes down another 10%, Tesla is going to eat some of that. They're going to be part of it. I just don't think as much. All right. So now let's take, that's just me. It's not investment advice. Now, investment advice that I gave a little while ago would be you should be buying bonds. I've been talking about that for a year, and you should have been buying bonds, and that was investment. Well, of course, it wasn't investment advice. It was just Randy's recommendation. So where are we this morning? Well, the bond, the 10-year, 15.3 basis points down this morning at 3.823. Now we are at that point where we were last November, where I think we're very likely to be hitting back down to that 3.25 level. Gary Black and I agreed on that number then. I haven't seen anything from Gary yet. I think we go down another 50 basis points pretty rapidly to around 3.2, 3.25, something like that. That's my anticipation. I forget whether we got there last time. I think we got close, but not quite. Okay. So then the 2-year is down 25.7 basis points at 3.9. Okay, what does that mean here? We are now at 8 basis points difference. 8. Count them. 8 basis points different. We are very close to the inverting. Very, very close. And what have we been saying about that? That would be evidence that the recession is in place. So we'll see what happens over the next, maybe even today. It's changing in front of my eyes here. 9, 11, and 8, 9, and 1. Yeah, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9 basis points is the difference right now. Now the 2-month, again, has not reacted yet. And this is not investment advice, but the 2-month might be something that's a buy now, because it's just crazy. It's 140, 135 basis. Massive number out of balance with the 10-year. So do with that what you will. It's not investment advice. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at oil, which NASDAQ enters correction territory. Dow tumbles 700 points. We just said that. Okay, that's the headline going across my screen right now. So the bond that we just talked about, bonds, oil down $2.75, $2.56 on Brent. That puts Texas Intermediate at 73.50. We are potentially heading into 6 handle, and you've got Brent at 76.93. So we're already seeing evidence of where something like this is going to head to lower inflation, which is great. Okay. And so therefore the Fed should act next week. Chairman Powell, you should cut the rates next week. Natural gas up 1.58 this morning at 1.999. So, it went under 2, and we'll see if it is right now exactly at 2. We'll see what happens there. Gold this morning, not surprisingly, all-time high, up 32.70 at 2,513. Brand new all-time high. We've got silver also up 1.52%, but still under that $30. So that's interesting. Copper up actually this morning, 0.75. That's odd. I would expect commodities to all be breaking lower this morning, but copper this morning up 0.73 at $4.11. Now remember, it's way down. It's down 25%. 25% from the $5.10 that it was earlier. All right, let's see. We have now got the dollar is down against the Japanese yen. That makes sense. 1.56% and up against the euro, about the same. Well, 1.15%. So, okay, that's what's happening with the dollar right now. We've got Bitcoin actually up this morning, up 1,700 at 64,970 roughly this morning. And then there you go. So what is all this going to mean? Well, I think I've told you everything there is that I need to tell you. So what you want to do is you want to know that Tesla is now down $2.86. So actually positive directionality here, quite positive in the last few minutes. I don't think it's going to be in the green today, but I think most of the action is done. That's what I think for today. Do I think there'll be much recovery of these numbers on the Dow or the NASDAQ? No, I think it'll be flat the rest of the day. That's just me. Who knows? There could be some news. Powell could come out and say, wow, what a surprise. I guess we know now that he doesn't get the information early. There you go. I think we've solved that question. If he'd gotten this information early, we would have had the cut on Wednesday. So we now know Chairman Powell does not, no matter what anybody said. We've had that conversation over a couple of different, I was looking at it on X, people saying, oh yeah, he gets it early. I guess not. I think we can be clear on that now. All right, so CERN Basher was on yesterday about noon, and it was a stellar show. You need to watch that one. So please, there is the card. Go check that out. And then be with me later today, CERN Basher, and then Larry Goldberg early in the afternoon, and then Larry again in the morning on the Cathie Wood Report. Don't miss any of this. It is going to be a day to remember in terms of the conversations we'll be having about what all this means. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you right now. It's been great talking to you.